If it wasn't for Frank Cousins' photographs of the Crowninshield graves, I would not have been able to carve replicas, so I wanted to make a short video about his life. He was born in Salem in 1851, and when he was 17, opened a general store kitty corner to the Peabody Museum, which you can just make out on the far left. It was called Frank Cousins' Beehive, which is such a great name and gives you a sense of his spirit, and it primarily sold dry and fancy goods. Here we see his window display, advertising women's cotton for under $1. The business was so successful that Cousins was able to indulge in his obsession with photography. The medium was relatively new at the turn of the century, and when Cousins first picked up the camera in his 30s, he pointed it at the subject he loved most, Salem. Over the course of his life, which ended in 1925, he took thousands and thousands of photographs of Salem's colonial architecture, both exterior and interior shots. He published books on Salem doorways and sold his photos at his store on Essex Street. Cousins typically shot on an 8x10 and 6.5x8.5 field camera on plate glass negatives, which produced an incredible amount of clarity and depth in the image. His entire plate glass negatives can be viewed online, and I highly recommend you click on the link and just start scrolling around. You will soon be lost in images of old Salem, with its rotting wharfs, McIntyre mansions, and elm-shaded dirt streets. No haunted houses or witch shops, just Salem before all the Halloween tourist traps. One of the best features of this website is the zoom function, which allows you to zoom in to an insane level without losing any quality. I'm amazed at how crisp these images are. I love reading all the hand-painted signs on storefronts, and I always try to click on photos with people in them because you can zoom right up to their faces. You can see their expressions and get a sense of their personalities. It makes me wonder who they were and what happened to them. I also like zooming in on old school photos because they're a wonderful record of the fashion at the time. Look at how each one is dressed in such a unique way. I love that these two in the middle are holding hands. And look at how cool her triple leather belt is. When I look at their faces, I am reminded of that great monologue in the Dead Poets Society. Seize the day, boys. Cousins was also a big taphophile. He took photographs of Greenlawn Cemetery, Harmony Grove, Broad Street, and Howard Street Cemetery. In the bearing point on Charter Street, Cousins took over 40 shots of individual graves and captured every one with Crowninshield carved into the slate. He seemed to have a particular fascination with the family. He photographed their house on Essex Street, and when I was doing research at the Phillips Library, I came across this genealogical book. I was surprised to find that on the front page, Frank Cousins had drawn up an entire family tree of the Crowninshield lineage and dedicated it to his friend William Endicott in 1909. Frank Cousins' reverence for Old Salem is something I relate to completely, and I think it would be really interesting if the Peabody Essex Museum created an exhibition on him one day. He was an absolute pioneer when it came to architectural photography, and because of his vision and thoughtful eye, we can now step back in time and relive what Salem once was. Thanks for watching, guys. If you'd like to support this project, please consider donating to my Patreon, Stones Over Bones.